Hi there and welcome back to the CEFA mini-pod. Today we're going to discuss attracting the best of the best, and here to do that with us is Nick Creswell from Creswell. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you very much.
So could you begin perhaps by telling us a little bit about yourself and your story?
Absolutely, and it's such a pleasure to be talking with you today. So, somewhat alarmingly, I started my career 25 years ago, and I studied political science and French at university. Didn't really know what I wanted to do after I graduated. Figured I'd get into sales. Then started on a sales graduate program with a big food company and kept suggesting to them how to change their graduate program. And then I fell into the world of graduate recruitment, and here I am 25 years later, still working in talent. I've worked in various big companies along the way. I studied an MBA at London Business School, took a concentration in marketing, then worked at Google for a few years in the mid-2000s, and then went to a big information company called Thomson Reuters. Worked with them for 9 years, absolutely loved it, wonderful company, very, very purpose-driven. And then a lot of changes happened there at the end of 2018, so I took the opportunity for redundancy and was then figuring out what to do next, because I took a few months out. And I kept telling recruiters I wanted to continue working in talent, be in a leadership role in a corporate environment, but was pretty relaxed about the company. I just really needed to believe in its purpose. And so I just kept going on about being in a purpose-driven organization. And I assumed it would be in London, where I'm from. And then one day I got a call from a recruiter in Copenhagen going, well, there's this company, you've probably never heard of them, and you certainly can't pronounce its name, but you should consider them. You want to be in a purpose-driven organization. So long story short, I joined as Creswell's first head of talent in May of 2019. Been having a wonderful time ever since.
Amazing, that sounds really great. So clearly you're from the UK. How has the move to Denmark been?
It's been a fabulous experience, and slightly bizarrely, I have quite a connection with the country already, actually. And that when I was 7, my dad got a posting working in the British Embassy in Copenhagen. So not only did I live here for 2 years at that age, but actually I lived in Gentofte, which is where the still headquarters is. Yeah. So actually, when I got the call from the recruiter, it was really the one city in Europe I said I'd consider living in, because I knew it somewhat already. So it's felt very natural coming back here. Look, as anyone watching this video knows, it's a wonderful city to live in so many ways. It's also a very interesting city to come into as a non-Dane, because I think it's fascinating integrating into Danish culture, which in many ways is a very open, outward-looking culture, and at the same time is a very particular culture, again, as anyone watching this video will know. So there's a lot of little things that it takes to get used to, but fundamentally it's been a wonderful experience.
So our topic today is attracting the best of the best at Creswell. So could you tell us a little bit about your job here at Creswell and what kind of talents you're looking for? What is your talent attraction strategy like?
Absolutely. So we're very clear at Creswell about one key thing, is that we are growing globally as a global green energy leader, and the only way that we can do that is if we are powered by talent. So we talk a lot about being powered by talent. And what that means is that we will grow when we have the right people with the right skills and the right behaviors in the right place at the right time. So it means we need to be very deliberate about thinking, who do we bring on board into the company, whether they're coming in at entry level, maybe through as a student, as a trainee, as an apprentice, as a graduate, and through to more experienced hires. And then as people are in the organization, thinking about how do we help them on board effectively, learn the culture, learn what it means to work in this industry, learn what it means to be successful in this company and to help us grow. And then really importantly, that they can thrive, perform and grow while they're here. So that we're very deliberate about helping people learn every day, to develop through their job and through more formal learning as well, and to make sure that they're challenged day to day, and also they've got a sense of opportunity and direction. And a final really, really important piece that we're really focusing on at the moment is how do we help everybody be successful here? So a very, very strong focus on inclusion. So no matter what your role, what your level, where you're based, you're in a position to be successful here, because that's, again, the only way that we'll grow is if we equip everyone to be successful here.
So Nick, you mentioned that you put a lot of effort into nurturing talent at Creswell. Could you give me a few examples of how you do that?
Absolutely. So we really focus on building what we call an environment of continuous development, and there's 3 factors you need in place to make that work. One is you need individuals to take responsibility for their own development and to get them to think really carefully about what are their development needs, and then how they're going to get experiences that help them with that, how they're going to get more formal learning around that, whether that's virtual learning or in person. And really importantly, how can they learn from those around them, whether that's a mentor or a coach or a sponsor or whoever else. But you really need to get the individual to take ownership of that. Next piece is that you need great managers. And actually that's quite a challenge as you grow as a global organization, is making sure that managers know what's expected of them and that they themselves are good coaches, that they're good at giving people feedback, that they help their individuals plan their development, and so on and so forth. And then the third element that's really key is that the company as a whole needs to create the right environment around all of this. Have you got the right HR systems to mean that you can get the knowledge that you need to, that you can find yourself a mentor or whatever else? And also, do you have the right sort of cycle in terms of certain milestones where you need to have a development conversation or write a development plan and so on? And when you get the individual taking ownership of their career, when you get the manager really coaching them well through it, and then when you've got the right environment placed around on that, that's where the magic really starts to happen.
More specifically, if we look at a CEFA perspective, so students who are studying economics and finance, in what ways is Urstel particularly attractive to them, people who are looking at careers in an economics-based role, something with finance, or perhaps even strategy?
We can only succeed if we've got the right financials around us, and the right financial conditions in place. So we really need finance experts to come to our organization. And I think the thing I'll emphasize as well is that we are the world's most sustainable company, which we're proud of. We want to maintain that accolade. And that's not just about branding and employer branding and a certain element of sort of employee pride. It's also a very practical point. It makes us a more investable organization. It makes us more attractive to investors. So we need to be able to convey why we're the most world sustainable organization, to remain that way, and to make sure that investors understand that if they put their money into Urstel as an organization, that this is money well invested and well spent. And for all of that, we need people who really understand finance. So it's absolutely key that we bring them into our organization.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing to emphasize here is that it's not just about dollars, krona, euros, pounds. It's also then thinking about how we're deploying that around the world. Are we doing that in a responsible and robust way around the world?
And do people working in finance look into that? Is that a part of their role as well?
Absolutely, and I think a good example of that is we have a really, really strong tax team here, and we have a group of people who make tax an advantage to us as an organisation. And as you look at how big corporates are being run around the world these days, so many of them are opaque about the way they pay their taxes and in which jurisdiction they're paid and so on and so forth. And actually we go to the opposite extreme on that, and that's partly comes from Danish culture. There's a real expectation in Denmark and in Scandinavia in general that there's a level of transparency around such a topic. But I really think that plays to our advantage as we build our reputation and as we continue to become a more and more sustainable organisation.
So my last question for you, Nick, is if you could go back in time and give your student self, or perhaps your beginning at Urstel self, 3 pieces of advice that are career related, what would those pieces of advice be?
Have a vision, have a purpose. And admittedly, I spent probably the first 15, 20 years of my career figuring out kind of what my career was about, what my purpose was. Ended up doing that with like coaches and mentors along the way. But I've become increasingly clear about kind of where I can add something in my career. And so I think being clear about what your purpose is and how you can add something special to an organization is really important.
Yeah.
Next one is don't rush. You know, I spent the beginning of my career, I was much more interested in just exploring, finding out new things. And I went down quite a few dead ends and did things that weren't necessarily, didn't necessarily accelerate my career early on, but then later on added so much value to it. Okay. So I think take time to explore and sort of look around is absolutely key. And the third one is just enjoy yourself. It's like, the world these days is so serious and jobs are so serious and so on and so forth that actually I think we lose sight sometimes of the fact that, it's nothing if it's not something that energizes you and brings you joy and brings you energy. So, I just really encourage anyone listening to this to think about what do they actually enjoy and what's going to bring them that joy and energy, and to go for it and make the most of that.
Nick, thank you so much for speaking to us about talent attraction and retention at Creswell. It's been really, really insightful.
You're welcome. It really has been a pleasure.
And that was it for today's CEFA Minipod episode. Remember to check us out on Facebook and LinkedIn to see the next episode. Bye for now.